Most people don't struggle with self-love because they dislike who they are. They struggle because they're exhausted from trying to earn peace, from constantly fixing themselves, improving themselves, and proving they are worthy of rest, calm, and acceptance. Somewhere along the way, self-love became another task on the to-do list, another standard to meet, another version of the self to reach. And that constant striving quietly drains the mind and hardens the heart. Buddhism offers a radically different understanding. It doesn't ask you to become more confident, more impressive, or more spiritually advanced. It asks you to notice the subtle ways you abandon yourself every day, by rushing past your feelings, by rejecting your imperfections, by believing peace will come only after you change. According to this wisdom, the problem isn't that you're broken. It's that you've been treating yourself as something that needs to be fixed. In this video, you'll learn why self-love isn't built through effort, but through awareness. You'll discover how stillness replaces striving, how letting go of self-judgment restores inner stability, and how Buddhist teachings reveal a quieter, more sustainable way to feel whole, without chasing approval, perfection, or validation. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally learning how to stay with yourself. Lesson 1. Self-love begins where self-improvement ends. The modern mind treats the self like a project that is never finished. There is always something to fix, something to improve, something to become. Be calmer, be more confident, be less emotional, be better than yesterday. What begins as growth slowly turns into pressure, and without noticing, you start relating to yourself with constant correction instead of care. In that state, even rest feels undeserved, as if peace must be earned through effort. Buddhism offers a quiet but radical insight. Suffering does not arise because you are imperfect. It arises because you reject yourself for being imperfect. The problem is not your flaws, your fears, or your unfinished healing. The problem is the way you turn away from yourself when those things appear. Each time you tell yourself, "I'll accept myself once I change," you divide your inner world into what is allowed and what must be exiled. This endless self-improvement keeps the nervous system in a state of tension. The mind never fully settles because it believes there is always something wrong. Buddhism teaches that peace does not come from fixing the self, but from stopping the fight with it. When effort relaxes, awareness deepens. And in that awareness, something unexpected happens. You begin to feel safe within yourself. Self-love, in this sense, is not indulgence or complacency. It is honesty without punishment. It is the willingness to stay present with your thoughts, emotions, and limitations without trying to escape them. When you stop using growth as a way to reject who you are now, growth becomes natural instead of forced. This is why so many people feel unworthy even while doing everything right. They are improving, learning, achieving, yet still feel empty. Not because they are broken, but because they never allow themselves to rest inside their own being. They are always reaching forward, never arriving. You don't feel unworthy because you're broken. You feel unworthy because you never let yourself rest. And the moment you stop treating yourself as a problem to solve, peace stops being a reward and becomes a place you can finally stand. Lesson 2. Stillness is emotional maturity. Stillness is often misunderstood as passivity, but in Buddhist wisdom, stillness is a sign of emotional maturity. It is the state where the nervous system feels safe enough to stop defending, explaining, and performing. When the body is calm, the mind no longer scrambles for approval, and the heart no longer tightens around every interaction. Stillness is not something you force. It arises naturally when you stop fighting yourself. Much of what we call confidence in the modern world is actually instability in disguise. The need to be seen, to be liked, to be validated again and again comes from an inner sense of uncertainty. When approval becomes the goal, your energy shifts outward. constantly scanning for reassurance. Buddhism teaches that this outward chasing is a sign of inner imbalance. The self is not anchored, so it reaches. Stillness restores that anchor. When you learn to sit with your breath, your emotions, and your thoughts without reacting, your nervous system begins to settle. In that settled state, you no longer need to convince anyone of your worth. You don't rush to explain yourself. You don't perform for acceptance. Your presence becomes steady, and steadiness is deeply reassuring to others. This is why calm presence changes relationships without effort. People feel safe around those who are regulated within themselves, not because they are impressive, but because they are predictable in the best way, grounded, attentive, and emotionally available. Stillness communicates, nothing is being demanded of you here, and that message softens defenses more than words ever could. Buddhism does not ask you to become louder or stronger to be respected. It asks you to become stable, to respond instead of react, to listen without planning your next move. When your inner world is regulated, your outer relationships begin to shift naturally, without strategy or manipulation. The people who feel safest don't convince. They regulate. Their calm is not an act. It is the result of inner alignment. And in that alignment, connection becomes effortless because nothing is being forced. Lesson 3. Detachment is trust, not distance. Detachment is often misunderstood. Many think it means not caring, stepping away, or becoming cold. Buddhism, however, teaches something far subtler and far more powerful. Detachment is trust, not distance. It is the ability to desire fully without allowing that desire to define your worth. You can want deeply, but your sense of value remains rooted in your own being, not in the arrival of what you seek. In our modern culture, we are trained to tie our identity to outcomes. If we get the promotion, we feel worthy. If a relationship works out, we feel complete. If a plan succeeds, we are relieved. When we fail, we punish ourselves. This constant connection between success, love, or validation and our sense of self is exhausting. Detachment asks us to step out of this trap. It is not about giving up on what we care about. It is about caring without being consumed, participating without surrendering our stability. Detachment is a form of trust. Trust in life, trust in timing, trust in the natural unfolding of events. It allows you to hold your desires lightly, to engage fully without grasping, to invest in love, work, or growth without demanding the world prove your worth. In this space, you stop clinging, and paradoxically, what you want often arrives with less struggle and more alignment. Your energy is no longer fractured by fear, need, or control. Instead, it becomes whole and available. This is not passivity, it is maturity. It is the freedom to feel hope without fear, to act with intention without self-erasure, and to pursue what matters without turning it into a measure of your value. You can want joy, love, and peace, and still remain anchored in yourself. You can engage, hope, and desire while knowing that your worth is inherent, constant, and independent of any external outcome. You can want deeply without making your worth conditional. That is the essence of detachment. It is not the absence of love or ambition. It is the presence of self-respect, the steady ground that allows desire to exist without taking over your life. When practiced, detachment transforms struggle into serenity and longing into presence, revealing a freedom that is both profound and deeply sustaining. Lesson 4. The voice you speak with shapes the life you tolerate. The way we speak to ourselves is far more powerful than most people realize. Every thought, every judgment, every harsh critique becomes a subtle blueprint for how we allow the world to treat us. When your inner dialogue is critical, impatient, or dismissive, it quietly sets the standard for the experiences and relationships you tolerate. We rarely consider that our self-talk is not private. It reverberates outward, shaping the boundaries we unconsciously allow. In essence, the voice you speak with becomes the life you accept. Many of us operate on autopilot, repeating negative patterns without noticing. I'm not enough. I shouldn't feel this way, or I have to prove myself may sound like internal thoughts, but they silently dictate the way we show up in the world. We accept behavior from others that mirrors our internal language, often without realizing it. If we are harsh with ourselves, the world reflects that same harshness back to us. If we ignore our own needs, we inadvertently create space for neglect, misunderstanding, or disrespect. Our inner voice doesn't just influence us, it trains the world around us. Self-love is not only about cultivating kindness inward, it is about setting a standard for what is acceptable for yourself and others. When you speak gently, patiently, and compassionately to yourself, you begin to establish clear boundaries. You no longer tolerate behaviors that feel wrong, dismissive, or draining. You model the care you wish to receive, starting from within. This is where true power and freedom emerge, from alignment between your inner voice and your outer life. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, if someone spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, would you trust them? Would you feel safe? Chances are, the answer is no. This reflection is not meant to shame you, but to awaken you. Awareness is the first step in reshaping the internal dialogue that determines your emotional reality. Every compassionate thought, every gentle acknowledgement of your struggles, rewrites the code that governs your interactions and the quality of life you accept. When you begin to speak to yourself with respect and care, a subtle transformation occurs. Life starts to respond differently, not because the external world has changed, but because your internal standards have. Relationships deepen, opportunities align more naturally, and challenges feel more navigable. Self-love becomes the standard-setting force that shapes your world, quietly yet profoundly. The voice you cultivate within becomes the architecture of the life you will tolerate, and ultimately, the life you will thrive in. Lesson 5. Peace is not passive, it's non-resistance. Peace is often misunderstood as stillness, passivity, or absence of challenge. But true peace, according to Buddhist wisdom, is not about avoiding life's difficulties. It is about learning how to meet them without creating unnecessary friction. Most suffering arises not from what happens to us, but from our resistance to what already is. The moment we push against reality, struggle with circumstances, or fight our own feelings, we generate tension that amplifies pain. Pain hurts, resistance exhausts. This simple truth lies at the heart of self-love. Buddhism does not promise a life free of hardship. It does not erase challenges or eliminate the natural ups and downs of existence. Instead, it teaches us to reduce the friction we create through judgment, impatience, or self-attack. Imagine trying to swim against a strong current. You expend energy, strain, and fatigue. Now imagine floating with the current, steering with gentle awareness rather than force. The water still moves, the current still flows, but your energy is preserved. This is the essence of non-resistance, aligning with reality instead of constantly opposing it. Self-love plays a central role in this practice. To truly love yourself is to allow reality to unfold, including your own emotions, thoughts, and imperfections, without beating yourself up. It is the act of noticing frustration, fear, or pain, and holding it with acceptance rather than pushing it away. When we resist what is, we compound our suffering. When we allow, we begin to see clearly, act wisely, and feel more deeply anchored. Non-resistance does not mean passivity. It is the courage to sit with life's truths without creating inner conflict. Consider the daily challenges you encounter: stressful relationships, work pressures, or lingering fears. In each moment, ask yourself, Am I resisting or am I allowing? Am I generating additional friction through judgment, self-blame, or impatience? The simple act of noticing resistance shifts the dynamic. When you stop fighting, life does not necessarily become easier, but it becomes more navigable. The mind is lighter, the heart steadier, and decisions emerge with clarity rather than tension. Ultimately, peace is not a reward for endurance or perfection. It is a practice of non-resistance, a conscious choice to allow life and yourself to be as it is. By reducing the friction between expectation and reality, you create space for clarity, compassion, and presence. Pain will still arise, but resistance is optional. And when resistance falls away, you discover a form of freedom that is both radical and deeply sustaining. Pain hurts. Resistance exhausts. Choosing non-resistance allows peace to enter effortlessly, transforming struggle into a quiet, enduring strength. Lesson 6. Wholeness is not perfection. In Western culture, worth is often tied to performance. We are taught that to be valuable, we must excel, achieve, and constantly improve. If we succeed, we are enough. If we fail, we are flawed. This mindset creates a constant cycle of striving, judgment, and inner fragmentation. Parts of ourselves are celebrated only when they align with ideals, while others are rejected, hidden, or denied. The result is exhaustion, not just physical, but emotional and spiritual. We are whole only when we stop trying to polish the broken, the messy, or the uncomfortable parts of ourselves. Buddhism offers a radically different understanding. Wholeness is not the sum of your achievements. It is not about reaching a version of yourself that passes some external test of adequacy. Wholeness is the practice of non-abandonment. It is the choice to include every part of yourself, the wounded, the fearful, the awkward, and the imperfect, without trying to erase them. True self-love does not demand perfection. It demands presence. It demands that you stop rejecting the very parts of yourself you have been taught to hide. You don't become whole by improving. You become whole by including. When we stop fragmenting ourselves, a profound shift occurs. Each part of your mind, each emotion, and each memory begins to feel acknowledged. Fear is not denied. It is welcomed. Regret is not suppressed. It is witnessed. Anger is not punished. It is understood. By embracing these aspects, you stop scattering your energy trying to be someone else. You stop using effort as a shield against your own discomfort. In that acceptance, the nervous system finds ease, the mind finds clarity, and the heart begins to feel stable. The tension of "I am not enough" slowly dissolves. In practical terms, this means pausing before judgment. When a thought arises, "I shouldn't feel this way," or "I should have handled that better," you gently notice it. You observe it without trying to correct it immediately. You remind yourself that these thoughts are part of your current experience, not evidence of failure. Each act of inclusion strengthens your internal foundation. The more you welcome yourself as you are, the less you chase validation, approval, or control from the outside world. You become your own sanctuary. This principle extends into every area of life. Relationships, work, creativity, and decision-making all improve when your sense of wholeness is internal, not conditional. When you stop abandoning parts of yourself, you show up authentically. You speak with clarity. You act without frantic self-monitoring. Others respond to you differently because your energy is coherent, grounded, and complete. Wholeness radiates not through perfection, but through presence. Remember, you are not waiting to become enough. You are not waiting to be fixed, polished, or approved. Each part of you, even the messy, imperfect, or uncomfortable aspects, deserves recognition and inclusion. By embracing them, you stop fragmenting. You stop chasing ideals. You stop sacrificing your internal peace for the illusion of perfection. True wholeness begins the moment you include yourself fully, exactly as you are. You don't become whole by improving. You become whole by including. Lesson 7. When you stop needing validation, connection deepens. Many of us approach relationships carrying a quiet, invisible weight, the need to be seen, approved, or loved to feel worthy. This subtle neediness distorts our presence, even if we don't consciously recognize it. It shows up as over-explaining, people-pleasing, or staying in connections that don't nourish us because we fear being alone. When we require validation to survive, our energy is no longer neutral, it becomes conditional. And conditional energy, no matter how well-intentioned, creates tension. It signals to others that love is a performance, not a gift freely given. The more we cling to approval, the less freely love flows to us. Buddhism teaches a different path, self-anchoring. When you are grounded in your own worth, you no longer need the world to prop up your sense of value. Your presence becomes calm, open, and steady. You show up in relationships not to fill a void, but to share abundance. You engage not from fear or desperation, but from choice and curiosity. In this state, people feel safe around you because your energy doesn't demand. You don't perform to be accepted. You simply exist, fully present. And this quiet, self-contained presence invites the deepest kind of connection, honest, reciprocal, and unforced. Consider how neediness distorts perception. When you cling, your mind magnifies every slight, misreads intention, and interprets neutrality as rejection. You are constantly scanning for evidence of acceptance, and your interactions are filtered through the lens of fear. This creates a cycle. The more you need, the more tension you carry, the more others unconsciously mirror that tension back. Love, in this state, becomes heavy. It feels fragile because it is tethered to a sense of survival, not choice. Self-anchored individuals experience connection differently. Their calm, stable energy does not push or pull. It simply invites. Others feel the freedom to express themselves authentically without fear of judgment or obligation. Conversations flow naturally, conflicts are handled with clarity, and intimacy deepens because it is not entangled with need. In this environment, love feels safe, expansive, and effortless. Love flows where there is no demand, because neediness no longer obstructs it. This principle applies not only to romantic relationships, but to friendships, family interactions, and professional connections. When your sense of self is independent of external validation, your interactions become richer, clearer, and more genuine. You learn to offer care, support, and attention without expecting repayment or proof of worth. In turn, the world responds to you with the same openness and authenticity. Remember this: love feels safest near someone who doesn't need it to survive. Your peace, self-respect, and grounded presence are the quiet magnets that attract connection without effort. The moment you stop needing validation, you open the door to relationships that are honest, deep, and unshakable. Not because they are perfect, but because they are free of the weight of survival. By anchoring yourself within, you create the conditions for love to flow naturally, effortlessly, and endlessly. You were never meant to love yourself loudly. The world often equates self-love with grand gestures, visible proof, or constant affirmation. But true self-love is quieter. It is steady, unwavering, and unshakable. It doesn't come as motivation to achieve or affirmation to validate. It comes as a conscious choice, a gentle, quiet decision to stop leaving yourself behind, moment after moment, breath after breath. In that steadiness, your inner life begins to shift. Life does not suddenly become perfect when you stop running from yourself. The storms, the challenges, the uncertainty, they remain. But what changes is your relationship to them. Life becomes honest. You see yourself and the world as they truly are, without the filters of fear, neediness, or desperation. Honesty is raw, It is sometimes uncomfortable, but in that clarity, peace is born. Peace that is real, grounded, and magnetic. Not loud, but transformative. If this reflection has brought even a single moment of calm, consider subscribing. This channel is not about pushing or preaching. It is about grounding, reminding, and guiding gently. Here, you are invited to return to yourself, to breathe, and to witness life without judgment. Quietly, steadily, you learn that the deepest form of love starts within, and that love ripples outward, naturally shaping the life you live.